because as an entrepreneur, you are only a cocoon in your own shell. You don't move out of your shell often.
That something happened with me when I decided that Siddhartha is the person I want to marry.
It was a super difficult decision, right? I can say I almost cried, right?
Hi everyone, welcome to 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Nancy and I'm back on this show with Siddharth. Thank you so much guys. You gave so much love and support on the first video we recorded together. That's the reason we are doing this second podcast together, and I'm so happy that we could publish that episode. It needed a little push from Siddharth because I was a little nervous while recording that video, but I'm happy we could do that. And you guys have to, listen to this podcast till end and tell us in the comments if you want more podcast from me and Siddharth. And just before shooting this podcast, I was just telling Siddharth that we are married for the last 5 years. And in the 5 years, we are going to shift to our 6th house.
Yeah.
So I was just telling him we have made so many decisions in the life. And, people think too much before taking decisions, and I think we never gave too much time, and just like that we started focusing on the key decisions we made together in the last 5 years that made all the changes in our life and helped us reach where we are now. We have a long way to go, but we have come a long way. I believe we are sitting in this beautiful co-work in Bangalore, and we have a 3-year-old kid. We run this very successful, knowledgeable, insightful podcast where we talk to super successful entrepreneurs and VCs every week. And we have now started investing in startups. Siddharth has a job and so many things we have done in the last 5 years. But what are the top 5 decisions that we took and that made all the change in our life? So let's start, Siddharth.
So I think the biggest decision that impacted both of our lives was getting married to each other. Nancy comes from a Brahmin family, which is based, most of the family traces its roots back to a village in Uttar Pradesh, and they only marry among their daughters too and their sons too among Brahmins. I'm a Punjabi, so it was a very big decision, and this is a decision which we both took when we were the only people at that point in time who were in support of this decision. It was a more tougher decision for Nancy to take.
Yeah, I was just 21-year-old. I interned with Siddharth's startup, and Siddharth was, I think, 28 that time. And we didn't even date for 1 year. After knowing each other, I won't even call it after dating each other, but after knowing each other for 1 year, we decided to get married. It was a very challenging decision because we had no other people in our life who were supporting this decision because we had age difference. For our parents, we had lots of differences. But we were very sure of this decision because we always believed in each other, and we thought we both were very ambitious and there are so many things we wanted to do, and we always thought about big things. So we thought when we are together, we'll be able to give more time to our careers. It was a very difficult decision, but we were also very sure that we wanted to do that thing, right? So getting married was one critical decision, but we made it, and it made a lot of change in our life. I think after 4 or 5 months only, the Siddharth startup got acquired by Shiro's, and Siddharth joined Shiro's as a co-founder, and later on I also joined Shiro's. We worked together, and that was the time when we thought of starting 100x Entrepreneur. There was something happening in Shiro's. When I met Siddharth was the founder of this healthcare startup Baby Gogo, and I always saw him working on so many creative initiatives. He used to, attend these investor meetings. He was looking for an office, and he was always outside the office attending so many meetings. And whenever he's in office, he's leading these team meetings and having these one-on-one meetings and talking about these important things. But then when he became part of Shiro's, he had so many things to do, but I think he didn't have much responsibility. I'm not very sure, but I was not liking the way he was living his life that time, because I kept on thinking that he's not the person I married, because I always saw him in action, right? And we started discussing, we are not, utilizing our full potential, and maybe we should try something else. And if you will live like this, what will happen to me? Because I always look up to you. So that was the discussion we were having that time. And that's when we, started 100x Entrepreneur Podcast, because we were not very sure what next we wanted to do. but we certainly had this idea that maybe if we talk to these super successful entrepreneurs, investors who have clarity about markets and many other things like that, they can help us. So starting podcast was also a critical decision in our life, and I think that is the second decision that helped a lot because it opened a lot of doors for us, right?
Lot of doors, and as well as a lot of new learnings which we were previously unexposed to. And I think if we both would have been entrepreneurs, those learnings would have never have come, because as an entrepreneur you are only a cocoon in your own shell. You don't move out of your shell often, and that podcast was like just breaking our shells apart to new people, new learnings.
You learn marketing, you learn content writing, you meet these people who are doing these cool things in their life, and you pick small things from them. You learn these small things from them. Like from Gaurav Munjal, when we recorded his podcast, we learned how much obsessed he is with the product he's building, the habits he has set up, and the culture he has built, and the marketing initiatives, and the vision he has for an academy. And you pick 2-3 things. Suppose like we have recorded 200 episodes. Suppose we have picked one good habit from each of these people. How much we have learned in the last 2-3 years, right? So that's kind of learning we have gone through in the last 3 years. So starting podcast was a critical decision in our life, and it helped us tremendously, I believe. And Siddharth will tell about the third decision.
So once we had the podcast, and there was a time, right, when we had recorded like 40 episodes from 2018 2019, and I was still working with Shiros. There came a time that I had to leave Shiros, and interacting with so many investors, I was really clear that as the next phase of my life, I want to be an investor. And I started reaching out to venture capital firms. I would have reached out to like so many, more than 10. And most of the response that I got from these are, you are a black sheep to be in venture capital. You are not from IIT, you are not from IIM, you are not from a consultancy background. And your own startup, that was not such a large exit, right? You were not Kunal Shah free charge.
That's
like
the exact words he got from people.
There are many people like you who want to go get into venture capital. Yeah. I used to tell Nancy, coming after let's say each of these conversations, like it's becoming really hard for me to get into venture capital. And at that time, Kabir was about to be born.
We had so much pressure that time because we were not very sure of our careers, and there was some personal crisis.
My father had passed away.
Yes.
So it's just like, you can say, like the hell broke loose at the same time. But we kept on hammering into. So each guest that I used to record the podcast in person with, I thought this might be my break into venture capital. So what I did is, on one of such trips to Bangalore, back then we were living in Delhi, I asked Amit Somani, managing partner at Prime, right? And I heard so fantastic things about Prime. So I thought, Amit, if you have an opening in Prime, let me know. And after some time, say 3 months, Amit called me suddenly on one of the days when we were shopping for about to be newborn baby, right? Nancy was 8 to 8.5 months expecting that. He said, I got I checked with Rajul Garg, who was your investor. Rajul today is the founder of Leo Capital and previously founded Global Logic and Pine Labs, 2 unicorns. So I checked your references with Rajul Garg, who was your board member and first investor. He had great things to say about you, but we don't have an investing role at Prime. We have a role which is in community, and your podcast is doing well. So we also want to continue, right, the podcast at Prime. We previously started it, but now we want to take it to new heights. And we thought with your kind of passion and consistency for the podcast and other initiatives that we can build for the community, you might be a great fit for a head of community role. And I said yes, thinking that I might not be getting an investing role at a VC firm, but this might be my break into venture capital. And in 2019, Kabir was like in October, just 1.5 months old, I shifted to Bangalore. And
yeah, I still remember that Kabir was, I think, just 2 months old, and Siddharth left for Bangalore. We were super excited for this new opportunity he got with Prime Venture Partners. And Siddharth was, adjusting in Bangalore, the kind of things you experience when you move to a new city. While I was getting all things done in Delhi, like getting the birth certificate made, getting his Aadhaar card, even passport made, because I thought कि वापस Delhi आना अभी possible नहीं होगा, कभी छोटा है अभी. So I got all things done when I was in Delhi in 15 days or 1 month, and I called these movers packers, got all the things packed, and landed in Bangalore with a 2.5-month-old baby. You can't carry a 2.5-month-old baby in one hand. You have to use both the hands. So you can imagine how I used to kick my bags, because I used to hold Kabir using both my hands. It was super challenging, but I was super duper excited to be with Siddharth and lead my new life in Bangalore. Hi everyone. Before we begin, I would like to share that this podcast is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya, and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category defining tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare, and education, such as MyGate, Quizzes, Planet Spark, Bolt, and Clip. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in. It was a very beautiful phase when he worked with Prime, because Prime has a beautiful culture in office. I think Siddharth had a very nice time in Prime, and he was super focused during that time because he was very excited about the initiatives he was working on, and he was so focused that he used to finish all the work by 7 and be home by 7:30, so we could spend more time with Kabir. So that was a very beautiful time. We were living in Whitefield, Bangalore, and we thought this is how we're going to spend the next 1-2 years. Then something else happened and life changed again.
Yeah, so that's the third big, say decision that we took. So what happened is, before applying to Prime, I had also applied to Amazon Web Services, and they took like 6 months to interview. And after like 3 to 4 months at Prime, I finally got a call that hey, you are selected for venture capital business development manager role that I applied for at Amazon Web Services India. And then me and Nancy went for long walks, because I had such a fantastic time at Prime, and my boss Amit Somani, he was personally invested in my growth, right? He used to spend time with me on what is required to grow into an investing role. And we used to spend so much time on discussing markets, discussing which kind of entrepreneurs is Prime looking for, which was not even my domain as a head of community, right? This was outside my role that Amit was spending time with me on. So it was a super difficult decision, right? I can say I almost cried, right, at that point in time, because I had a one chance in my life to get Amazon-like logo in my career working with Amazon. I never worked at a large corporate. I have been a startup guy throughout my life.
हमारी लॉन्ग वर्क्स शुरू ही तब होती है जब हमें कुछ बहुत डिफिकल्ट डिसीजन लाइफ में लेना होता है, एंड वी वॉक फॉर 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour discussing all the pros and cons. So I remember we were super duper excited when he got a call from Amazon, because this was the first time when he was supposed to join a big company like Amazon. And I was also very excited because we never hoped that he would get selected in Amazon. I don't know why. I had so much faith in him, but I never imagined like he would join Amazon. So we were very happy that we got an opportunity, but we were also very sad to think that we will no longer be part of Prime. Prime was like a family. We attended this Christmas celebration party, and Kabir also joined. It was such a warm, gathering we had. And then during that time, or maybe after 1 month, we had to decide that you have to join Amazon or you have to stay at Prime. So it was one more difficult decision we had to make that time. But
yeah, we
made
finally
the hard
took
call.
that decision, resulting in me moving from Prime to Amazon Web Services. I think growth is always difficult. What we can say from all the first 3 decisions that we take, like getting married was super difficult.
Because I was very young. I had no clear path, like what I exactly wanted to do. And I was also doing my CA, so my family members used to say that you have enough time to study and pursue a career you want to pursue. And now, after this 3-month internship, you are suddenly talking about marriage. What is this? But something was going on in my mind, and I was thinking about something which I was not able to make my family understand. So there are few things, I'll call them gut feelings, you get when you can't explain everyone what you exactly want to do, but you get this feeling that this is something I want to do. That something happened with me when I decided that Siddharth is the person I want to marry. And I was 22 when we got married, and I was very sure of the time that this was the right time, because I still think that you have to make the time right. There is never a right time. And even when Kabir was born, I was just 25. I got pregnant when I was 24. And I used to feel a little sad on some days, thinking like my classmates are doing MBAs, joining these new companies, and putting nice things on LinkedIn, and I'm just sitting at home visiting gynecologist every other day, getting this ultrasound thing done. My life was completely different than all my batchmates.
Dear listeners, before we dive further into the podcast, I would like to welcome Prashant Kanti, Head of Product Management at Zoho Payroll and Zoho Books. Prashant, what is your long-term vision for Zoho Payroll?
Thanks, Siddharth. So for us, right, at Zoho, everything we invest for the long term. That includes Zoho Payroll. We will continue to invest in R&D, push innovations in the payroll domain. And what we will also do is, payroll straddles both HR and finance. And many times what we see many of these problems as situated applications like payroll or something that just addresses one domain. What we have observed is all these applications have wide implications. All these departments like payroll have wide implications across the organization. So we will continue to ensure that the data residing in payroll applications disseminate across the organization and help with decision making across various departments. Furthermore, we are emerging as a payroll platform. We encourage our customers to solve problems that we ourselves have not imagined. And we are also seeing if payroll plays a larger role in the ecosystem. Like, for example, payroll, we connect with banks. Going forward, we might talk to insurance providers, with the regulatory authorities. So end-to-end automation across the entire ecosystem. So that's our long-term plan for payroll.
Thank you, Prashant. Dear listeners, you will find more about Zoho Payroll in the show notes. Now let's further continue with the podcast.
My colleagues at work, I was just 24, walking in the office with a baby bump, looking like a baby of myself. But it was a beautiful phase. You have to make tough decisions. Not all your decisions will be similar to what your colleagues or friends make, but everyone is different, so decisions should also be different. एक जगह पे ही वापस सबको नहीं जाना है. डिफरेंट डिसीजंस भी डिफरेंट होंगे, तभी आप डिफरेंट जर्नी लीड करोगे और डिफरेंट जगह लैंड करोगे. This is something I have believed in my life. So we made this decision that Siddharth would be joining Amazon and we will change another house. Within 3 months, we changed our house in Bangalore, and Siddharth joined Amazon, and I started managing home and Kabir. But something interesting was also happening. We never stopped doing the podcast. We never ever stopped missing publishing the podcast. This is something great we did together. That it was not like अच्छा Amazon की job लग गई, अब क्या ज़रूरत है podcast करने की, या अभी Prime में इतनी अच्छी opportunity मिली है. Prime में भी सिद्धार्थ podcast पे work कर रहे थे, तो अभी क्या ज़रूरत है podcast करने के लिए. नहीं, हमने कुछ ऐसा सोचा नहीं. We never even discussed about that. Podcast was always going on, and thanks to that habit, we have now completed 200 episodes, and we are now going to have our own studio in Bangalore, and I'm super excited about that we will be hosting these entrepreneurs and investors in our studio and doing in-person podcasts. So watch out for all our upcoming podcasts, because like we are going to share super duper amazing offline podcast with you all in the coming months.
So now after almost 3 years at Amazon, what the biggest fourth decision that I would tell that we did was whatever little money we got from the exit of my company Baby Guru to Shiro, we never saved it for a car, we never bought a car, we never bought a house. We put all that money into startups. I think it was a very risky bet, and what happened is it just took us to another path. We never intended to be investors, but what happened is one after other, because of the podcast, opportunities kept coming, entrepreneurs started reaching out. And I think after I left at Prime, I started investing actively. And we decided that when I was running my company, one part of was B2B SaaS, the other part was B2B2C, where the consumer industry was the mother who was using the Baby Gogo app. We decided we'll never focus on consumer startups. We like to build large businesses with revenue from day zero, and B2B SaaS was one opportunity where we could contribute in building that journey to 10 million ARR. So we invested in AirMeet as the first check. Along with Axel, we invested in Infido along, with Y Combinator, and then after a few months, Tiger Global came in along with Jungle Venture. Similarly, Rocketium, Affable, we invested in, and this journey kept going on. We kept on learning so much from the entrepreneurs, grateful to them for making us part of their journey, their cap table, giving us ownership in their company. And we tried to make sure that we delivered more value, which was like 3 or 4 times of the check that we put in, so that the entrepreneur tomorrow is proud of that. Hey, we took 100x entrepreneurs on the cap table. And today we have done like more than 35 investments in startups. Some of them have become like really big, like Neiman Shoes is one of them. So that's the fourth decision, like investing when you had like very little money or no money into startups. I would not encourage you to take a loan, but yeah, I didn't take a loan. I invested whatever we had saved into startups. And the fifth decision that we took recently is to build a fund. We have created a $10 million fund, and we are investing now into startups from that fund. It's only a SaaS focused fund, and it's been so tough raising that fund because the markets today are in recession. But we finally raised it. We got closed at like 2.5% more commitments in the fund, and today the fund is at 10.25. And with the fund also, we decided to go all in. We cut a 500k check into each company, which is like 5% of the fund. And the journey is, I would say, really rewarding. It takes us out from the comfort zone, and we are not left with much on, I would say, to, let's say, we don't take long foreign vacations or anything like that. Still, we don't have a car, we don't own a house. But I think this excitement of being part of startups that are going to change the world in the next 5 to 10 years
is very fulfilling.
Is very fulfilling, and it gives us so much joy when we see these startups succeed.
And the best part is we don't have to fight because we both feel the same about the work we are doing. So we don't have to argue, we don't have to fight that this is something I don't want to pursue, this is what are you doing kind of arguments we never have. So this is the beauty of our relationship. Touchwood. So these were the 5 decisions we took in the last 5 years, and we are very proud of these decisions, and we believe good things will start happening with us in the coming years, and good things have already started happening. We have a baby, and we'll be shifting to a new studio next month, and we are hosting these amazing entrepreneurs. And now that we'll be hosting these people in person, so we will get a chance to meet these people which we missed out in the last 2 years because of COVID and other things. We have been doing these podcasts online. So I'm super duper happy for the coming time hosting these people in person, and and all the marketing initiatives we are planning, and for our fund. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and do tell us in the comments about your favorite decisions you made in life that you're very proud of. Right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.